Welcome to the I Hate Critics Movie Review Podcast. I'm professional film critic Sean Patrick. With me is Jeff.
Is this thing on? Yes, it is.
And you can find us on all the various different types of social media. Our Facebook page is relatively active, so that's a good place to start. And Chris Jeff is all over the place. Jeff?
I am. This weekend, I'm in Ottumwa, Iowa for Halloween-a-Palooza, where they're having a Fright Night 40th anniversary reunion with Amanda Beer, Stephen Jeffries, and William Rangsdale, as well as a couple other minor celebrities. I don't know. I can't remember who, so I guess they're not major to me. Yeah, I've got stickers, I've got prints, I've got all sorts of arts, and then my next one isn't until November 8th, which is the Dark History and Horror Con in Champaign, Illinois.
Oh, wow. Good college town.
Yeah, I actually, that's always a good show too. It's got a good energy. It's a lot of true crime, and then they try to have, probably like one horror guest. First year I did it was 2021, and I shut down the hotel bar with Corin Nemec, who played Parker Lewis in Parker Lewis Can't Lose, and he was in The Stand, and John Dugan, who played Grandpa in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, who I'm fairly good friends with now because of that. So, and he
Very
was there
cool.
last year. I'm not sure who's going to be there this year. I haven't paid that much attention because I've been so worried about these other shows that I've got coming up first. So I will post the information on all my shows coming up on the Facebook page.
Excellent. Of course, on our Facebook, I'm also posting the stuff that I'm working on for medium.com/realscope. Over the weekend, I did a brand new opening shots column on All the President's Men and the blank page that brought down a presidency. The first sight you see in All the President's Men is this blank teletype page, and it's an iconic image. If you're a writer, that empty page is the first thing you see every day, and it's a great piece of art that the director decided to open up on that. It's rather an ingenious piece of work from Alan Pakula. So yeah, that's on the medium.com/realscope. It's also Sci-Fi Week for Tron. So I've got reviews of the original Tron as well as the Tron Legacy up now at medium.com/realscope, and I'll have two more sci-fi reviews to go up before Tron Ares goes up on Friday morning. And we're in the midst of 31 Days of Horror at medium.com/realscope. So you can find my reviews of some obscure and some well-known horror films. I covered a movie called Monster Man, as well as the space found footage movie Apollo 18, which I'm a big fan of. Then I went big with Rosemary's Baby. That one is online now. And I've got big plans. Martyrs went up, I think, yesterday or today. I've got a review of Martyrs. So, Martyrs is one of the greatest horror films ever made. Would you? I couldn't, like, both Josh and Bob, when they suggested that I'd be given Martyrs, they're convinced that I was going to hate it because it's so extreme, and I came away going, no, this movie is brilliant.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, and the fact that it's so unexpected. What happens during it is it's super, super intense, and I think everybody should see it.
I don't have a problem with.
Don't accidentally buy the American version that I did on Blu-ray.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with extreme violence as long as it has a purpose, and it has a purpose in Martyrs. Like that is a necessary level of violence. If the movie just is violent for the sake of violent, I'm not interested. Like, the gratuitous, Halloween sequels or the remakes or whatever. Like, it's just needless violence. It doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't do anything. This is violence that has a perspective within the story as well as a larger meaning outside of the story. And that to me is an incredible way to create a film that is shocking and meaningful. Extreme violence is not the problem. It's pointless violence that I have a problem with.
Yeah, and I feel like with a lot of like the slasher movies and stuff, it seems less pointless the more you like the people that are being killed. And so many of the slasher movies of the 80s and 90s, they don't you don't like anybody, so
Oh,
it doesn't
I mean
matter.
that was the plague of the early 2000s was movies with characters where you're like, I really want this person to be murdered.
Well, I mean, in Friday the 13th now, you're rooting for Jason or you're rooting for Freddy or Michael Myers at this point. And I mean, there's something to be said for long time slasher franchises like that, and the fact that eventually that's who you're going to start to identify with. Um, but it's also, like way better when it's a movie like Black Christmas where you're totally you're rooting for the people because you like them so much and you don't want them to be killed.
Yeah, I don't know. Like at a certain point, like in the early 2000s, we just lost that, and I think it was around the time that Hostel came out. I think Hostel is really the nadir of movies where you're creating characters that you just don't care about.
Yeah.
Those characters were just horrific human beings that I just did not want to see in any way. I didn't want to see them violently murdered, and I just didn't want to see them. Period, because they were just terrible. The very first of the Friday the 13th remakes came out around that time as well, and it was like, no, this is garbage. I don't want
Yeah, I
these
really
characters are
hated the remake.
garbage, and yeah, just no. I gotta have, like I said, violence isn't the problem. It's pointless violence that's the problem,
Yeah.
and obnoxious writing.
Yeah, I really feel like that's one of the reasons I disliked the remake of Friday the 13th. I've tried several times to go back and watch it, and it just doesn't seem like Jason to me. That's why I'm worried about the Jason universe. I don't know if you've seen anything on that yet. Um,
Not really.
but because of the lawsuit between Victor Miller and Sean Cunningham, and um, Victor Miller wrote the original Friday the 13th, so he sued for rights to that, and then they kind of split the baby, and now they're doing instead of calling them Friday the 13th movies, they're Jason Universe. And first of all, the Jason mask looks like fucking something you bought on at Spirit Halloween that was made by Timu that was shit out by AI. It's so bad. It looks so horrible. It looks a lot like. Did you ever see Leslie Vernon, the rise of Leslie Vernon? Did you ever see that movie?
Sounds familiar.
It's like if that mask and Jason's hockey mask had a baby in
What the
AI.
fuck?
Yeah, it's so fucking weird, and it's got like square eyes. It's pretty terrible. Um, yeah,
And
you'll
you've
have to
got
look
to
that up.
you'd figure with that kind of iconography, that would be the last thing you'd fuck with.
I mean, well, and the hockey mask that started in part three was based on a real hockey mask, and I can't remember off the top of my head, I can't remember who designed it, but it was basically they took that hockey mask and they modified it a little bit, and then it went through so many iterations up until Freddy versus Jason but it never the patterns didn't change. The chevrons and the decoration and the cuts and stuff happened, but it never fundamentally changed. And it's such a touchstone for so many Friday the 13th fans that this new one, I don't know a single person who I've heard that's not like, uh, you know, Gen 1 or whatever the youngest people out there are called that like it. Um, certainly no Gen Xers like it. And I don't know many people that do, if any. It just looks really, really bad. So,
Weird choice to fuck with that. There's so
yeah.
many other things you can fuck with, but like you can give him all kinds of different weapons. He doesn't really care about his weapon. He cares about that mask. That seems to matter. That's the thing that people came to know him for, even though he doesn't have it in the original or most of the
Yeah.
second one. People know that mask.
Anyway, we've gone off on a tangent as usual.
As usual.
But yeah, I think that's a movie like Martyrs. You talked about Hereditary, Midsommar, ad nauseum. Those are the kind of movies that where the violence really matters,
Absolutely.
and most of that is because you care about the characters and you've gone through stuff with them. Like Danny and Midsommar, you've gone through the entire journey of her losing her family, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and that's why all the violence in that movie is earned and then some.
No doubt about it. And I got another good one going up tomorrow called "Let the Right One In." It's a remake
Yeah.
of a Swedish original. It's got Chloe Grace Moretz and Cody Smith McPhee, and it's one of the rare times when America got a remake right. It's
Yep.
not better than the original, but certainly as good, I would say, as the original. And that's a rarity when it comes to remakes. So that's why I
Yeah,
decided to go
definitely.
with it. I don't really have a theme other than it has to be a horror film, and there are 31 of them.
I used to do monthly, like I used to do my 31 days of Halloween and nobody did it, so I stopped.
Hmm.
So
Well, we'll see if this is at all successful. Hopefully, it's doing all right so far. So far, it's good.
good.
But I got to promote better. I keep falling off on that part of it.
Yeah, I hear that.
It's not fun. It's not fun talking about myself. I like me, but I don't like to talk about me.
Same, same.
Most
Doesn't
people
bother
are
me.
that way. And unfortunately, the people who thrive are the ones who are, hey, I'm perfectly willing to talk about me.
Yeah. Ugh.
All right, let's since we're on a horror conversation, why don't we start off with a horror movie this week? It's called Good Boy, and this is a horror film from the perspective of a dog. Jeff, has there been anything ever like this before? Anything you could think of that would be a correlation to a movie like Good Boy?
I mean, there's been killer dogs and stuff, but none that are observing the action. I think this is seems to be a completely brand new concept, and if I'm wrong, people can certainly tell me. But I don't remember this kind of concept at all. So
Yeah, really. It's directed by Ben Leonberg and co-written by him and Alex Cannon, and stars the dog Indy as your main character here. Indy is observing his owner, played by Shane Jensen, who is certainly going through something. And one of the first things we see is he's bleeding, and he's getting bleeding enough that he got it on the dog. Then we find out that he's been sick recently, but that he's trying to get away from his people who are concerned about him because he used to have, or maybe he still does have, a drug problem. And you feel obviously there's the guilt and the shame that goes into having a drug problem. He's going to escape this by going out to his family's old cabin where his grandfather lived, where his grandfather died, and his grandfather also died alongside his own loyal dog. And once we're there, the dog starts seeing things that his owner can't quite see. And I know one of the big concerns that many people have about this movie is, well, is the dog actually scared? Because I don't want to see the dog be scared. I don't want the dog to be harmed in any way. And don't worry, Indy is a good boy. He does a great job. I don't think they did anything to terrify him into this. He's not performing. He's a dog. He doesn't know he's in a movie. But in terms of being a dog in a movie, he's a great dog in a movie. This is a very compelling idea here. I think actually, if there's going to be like a way to a correlative to this, maybe weirdly enough, this is like the better version of Skinamarink because you don't really have anybody around to talk during the story. You're just with the dog, and you're just staring at various different images that the dog is kind of seeing in the dark. And in that way, like you're searching every frame to find the scary thing that he's being drawn to. And in that way, I guess it's a better version of Skinamarink.
well, I mean, there couldn't be a worse version of it, but just saying.
We're the one podcast I really hate Skinamarink.
Oof. God,
What do
that
you think,
movie
Jeff?
was terrible. I actually really like this. One of the things that I thought was interesting, there's a little featurette right after. Um, I don't know if you stayed for that.
I
Um,
didn't.
it's basically it's showing you how how they did this and how he was never scared. He was never in danger or anything. He jumps out, the scene where he jumps out the window and the glass breaks and whatever. There was
Uh-huh.
no glass. They actually CGI'd that in. He just jumped through the door or jumped through the window.
Huh.
Just very, very interesting how he talks a lot, the director talks a lot about juxtaposition and how that is what builds the horror and the terror for people, because there's a scene where he's looking out the window and there's like an entity outside the window,
Uh-huh.
and he's scared in the movie, but all it really is him standing outside the window going, okay, look over here, Indy. And then they juxtapose that with, a skinwalker or whatever the things were outside. So
Uh-huh.
very interesting way to see that.
Wildly clever and just kind of a strong demonstration of what you can do with just a really interesting idea and a lot of atmosphere, because really that's what the scariest thing here is. The atmosphere of the movie, the feel, the vibe of the movie is scary, and that really takes care of all the stuff. Then you just get these shots of Indy just being a super charismatic dog, which he
Yeah.
is. He's a very charismatic dog, and you worry for him, you're frightened for him, you want him to be safe. And I was worried about his owner too, but I was worried about the dog mostly.
Oh,
It's I think this is quite a good movie, and I think this is where a director, could have written himself into a lot of different corners and got himself into a place where it's hard to get around it. And I think they did a great job of finding ways to create new scenes and new scares without having to resort to any types of needless tricks, like somebody talking for the dog or somebody they were
yeah.
sharing the dog's thoughts or some bullshit like that.
Yeah. I really do recommend this. I think that a lot of people who, like horror movies, like something a little different, um, I think you'll really enjoy this.
I think we need to create a special Oscar category just for Indy.
You're not wrong.
I don't know if we've seen an actor an animal actor this charismatic in a movie in a long time. I can't
Yeah.
really think of one.
Yeah, I don't know. Now that you say that.
Indy is certainly a good boy.
Good boy.
Good
Good
boy,
boy.
Indy. Good boy. Are you a dog person, Jeff?
I like dogs. I don't have any pets just based on my apartment. My best friend of the whole world is my sister's elderly dog.
Yeah.
Um Wrigley. His brother can fuck right off, but um just kidding. No, really. Um yeah, I like dogs. I'm more of a cat person because I need you to like chill the fuck out and get away from me sometimes, just like if I have a boyfriend. Um so yeah, I could easily have a cat if I wanted to pay pet rent, which is a total scam, by the way.
Hmm.
Um but yeah, I like dogs. I don't just like any animals except keeping a bird. I think that's weird.
I, I like dogs. I didn't like my sister's dog. I was not a fan. I don't like the yappy dogs. I can't do yappy.
Yeah.
The dogs that are constantly barking. No,
Mhm.
can't do it. Get them away from me. That's gonna set me on edge constantly. But my best friend's dog, Buddy, is a 6 foot tall Irish
Mastiff.
sheep dog, like just this
Oh,
giant dog, massive, taller than me if he stands on his back legs. Uh, gives great hugs. He's a wonderful hugger,
yeah.
and people would be you might find him terrified because he's huge, but he's just the sweetest dog. He has no idea how big he is, no clue.
Yep.
He thinks he's a
Yep.
lap dog.
I taught our cousin's grand dog to give me hugs, and her daughters who own the dog hate that because they're trying to teach her not to jump up on people. But I'm like, okay, Augie, give me a hug, and he jumps up and gives me a hug.
Oh, no, that's cute. A little gift you can leave your friends when you do stuff like that.
Exactly. Exactly.
Do you have a favorite movie dog before Indy?
Well, let's see. There's Precious from The Silence of the Lambs, who was also in Pee-wee's Playhouse or Pee-wee's Big Adventure and Batman Returns, I think.
Hmm.
But yeah, Precious. Oh, Precious. Oh, don't you hurt my dog. Um, yeah, I think that's who comes to mind first. E-Buzz from Poltergeist and Gordon from Friday the 13th Part 3 or 4.
I
Then
think
there's
obviously
Muffin.
the greatest movie dog of all time is Cujo. There's no doubt about that.
Well,
Cujo is the champion.
yeah, especially when played by a human in a Cujo costume. Um,
I
you knew
love that
that, right?
movie. I was surprised. I really thought I was going to hate that movie. I really really liked it.
Well, and somebody I don't know if it's Mike Flanagan is in talks to remake that.
Oh wow. Huh.
I think somebody's doing a remake of Cujo, and I'm not sure
Hey,
if it's him,
how could you do
but
it today? I don't
well, you kill the
understand that.
kid, like the book.
I think more people would be upset about the dog being harmed in any way.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I told Danny Pintaro when I met him, I'm like, you should be dead. And he's like, what? And I'm like, in Cujo. And he's like, oh. So, a remake of Stephen King's novel Cujo is in development for Netflix with a scheduled premiere in late 2025. I don't think it's going to make that. Um, Directed by, guess who?
No idea.
Take a wild guess. Who would never ever do that?
Chris Columbus.
Well, okay, that's a very, very good point. Although, wait, maybe that's the wrong answer, but I, according to the first result on, um, uh, Google, it was Darren Aronofsky.
What?
But now I'm looking down, and the first article by the Hollywood Reporter um, is not saying that.
Hmm.
So,
Did Mike Flanagan drop out already?
well, I don't know if he was ever in it. It just, I, I, I'm like, I just feel like I heard that somewhere.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, let's
He's so
see.
intertwined with Stephen King stuff now. You figure
Yeah.
anything King at the very least would give him permission to do it.
Oh, I bet he'd love that. I mean, and I think he would do a good job. Um,
I think really the only
well,
untouchable King movie is Maximum Overdrive.
that's true. There's not enough cocaine in Hollywood anymore to do that movie again. So it says Roy Lee will produce the reboot, which has yet to attach a writer, director, or cast members
Hmm.
for Deadline, which broke the news. But this article is from March. Um, so I don't know. I can't find anything definitive that says Darren Aronofsky, except for that um, first AI thing.
Who needs it? We've got Good Boy. That's your dog movie for the year. Leave Cujo in the past. We've got Indy
Agreed.
now. All right. Elsewhere this weekend, Jeff didn't get a chance to see this one, so I'll just talk about The Smashing Machine, starring Dwayne The Rock Johnson and Emily Blunt, in the story of an MMA fighter named Mark Kerr, who was a big deal in the late 90s into the early 2000s. He suffered through drug addiction and had a rocky relationship with his girlfriend, played by Emily Blunt. He survived that to win some fights, lose some fights. And Jeff, I don't know why anybody was excited to tell this story. I don't know. I
I
I
I
get
certainly was not excited to see it, but that's not why I
Mark
didn't see it.
Kerr. I didn't know who he was before this, and I'm not completely cut off from the UFC world. I don't watch UFC, but I can name names because around here we've actually had we had a champion who lived in Davenport for many years and who trained several different fighters here in our area for many years, and uh, and I
Seth
still
Rollins.
I'd still never heard of this guy Mark Kerr. I'd never never uh yeah, I don't know who Mark Kerr is, and after this movie I still kind of don't know who he is, other than a guy who had a drug problem and gets over it as easily as anyone could, I guess. It's like it barely feels like a plot point. He's hooked on drugs. He talks to his buddy who tells him to get off the stuff, man, because he's taking all kinds of painkillers, and because he's in pain all the time, and he just does that. Like I've seen people we've all seen drug use and drug abuse in movies, and it seems to be a real process. This one, boom, they get it over with pretty quick. The issue then becomes that his living girlfriend Emily Blunt is hooked on drugs, or not hooked on drugs, but she's an alcoholic, and she's got alcohol around all the time, and that becomes an issue in their relationship, but not much of an issue, really. Don't know. Then the fighting, he's not even a champion. He loses a lot, actually. Even though they make a big plot point in the first half of the movie about how he's never lost, and then his first loss is the big, dramatic part for him because he's never lost before, and technically even didn't even lose that fight. His opponent cheated, but he so he doesn't take well to losing, and then he just loses again, and it's what. I thought we were watching a movie about a guy who was supposed to be one of the all-time greats. I'm guessing he is. I mean, he still only lost a couple of times, but the movie depicts two of the biggest moments in his life where he doesn't win. In fact, his best friend wins, and it's wait, what? Okay. Much of this, of course, has been the show of Dwayne Johnson working towards his potential Academy Award, working on his dramatic chops, and I just don't know if this is going to work out for him. I was so distracted by the makeup for this movie. The makeup is good, but it's good in a way that lands it somewhere in the uncanny valley where I think every scene I was adjusting my eyes between Mark Kerr and Dwayne Johnson, trying to gauge where we are, makeup wise. He looks pretty much the same throughout the entire movie until he shaves his head, and then that's a completely different look. But there are various different iterations of his face over time, which he gets punched a lot. I guess that makes sense, but I don't know. I just every scene I seem to be adjusting my eyes to the uncanny valley between Mark Kerr and Dwayne Johnson. I do like how he is more vulnerable than I think we've ever seen Dwayne Johnson on screen. He's wears his heart on his sleeve kind of guy, which is certainly kind of a different thing for The Rock, I guess. The weird thing is that he's paired with this guy named Ryan Bader, who plays Mark Coleman in the movie. And Ryan Bader is a real UFC fighter, and he just comes off as so natural and so realistic in this universe that it exposes The Rock as a performance for me. Because he's this is his life, this is his world, whereas The Rock is trying to act like a person who existed in this world, and he's doing acting, some capital A acting at times. This guy Ryan Bader, he just feels like he's perfectly at home here. He's not putting on any type of performance. It's just it's such a natural thing for him. And since I guess for me anyway, Mark Coleman is not anybody I've ever heard of, I don't have anything to compare him to. So I just accept that's who Mark Coleman is. And he's just so natural and so individually charismatic. It exposes what The Rock is trying to do in his performance, and that really kind of undermined a lot of the work. Bennie Safdie's a terrific director, but he also just loves shaky cam. It's a way to try and
Oh,
make you feel like you're in the moment, like you're a fly on the wall. He really loves that fly on the wall look, and I find that look to be incredibly tiresome at this point as an attempt at naturalism. And that again was just another thing that just did not quite work for me. I don't think this is a bad movie at all. But I can't go as far as to say, yeah, it's a must see. It's not a movie I can recommend against, I guess, but I've got a lot of
yeah.
issues with it.
Yeah, I actually talked to somebody at work who saw that movie, and I said, oh, what did you think? I haven't seen it yet. And he was like, he goes, I just don't get it. I walked out, about three-quarters of the way through. It just wasn't holding my interest. And, kind of exactly what you said. It was like, he didn't, he didn't hate it so much, but he walked out because he's like, I'm going to go see a different movie instead. So
Wow.
yeah, I think he went and saw Good Boy instead.
That's a good choice.
Yeah.
That's a good choice. Yeah, so that's the smashing machine.
Not very smashing. Smashing. Is that what you're trying to say?
Sorry, I lost you here. Hang on. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, good.
I said, so the smashing machine wasn't very smashing. That's what I was trying to say.
All right, let's move on to a movie we both did see. Let's talk about Anemone, starring Daniel Day-Lewis, written and co-written and directed by his son Ronan Day-Lewis. It's the story of family. Daniel Day-Lewis plays Ray Stoker. He's a guy who has gone through an incredible amount of trauma between his childhood, his parenting, and his time in the military. To get away from all that, he lives in the middle of absolutely nowhere, just this deep, dense forest where he just keeps to himself, listens to some music, cuts some wood, and that's his life. This routine is upended by the arrival of his brother Jem, played by Sean Bean. He's there because Ray's son is having some serious emotional issues, and Jem believes that Ray, speaking to his son, might be able to help him navigate some of this because, of course, that's his son. But the kid's actually being raised by Jem, as well as Nessa, played by Samantha Morton, who happens to have been, of course, Ray's ex. So there's a lot of free floating emotion here, a lot of fraught emotions, to say the least. The two brothers spend a few days together, talking, warring, not talking. um, Daniel Day-Lewis is just one of the most magnetic actors alive. You can't take your eyes off of him. And when he gets into one of his monologues, even one that is completely just one of the most disgusting things I've ever heard, uh, he's a riveting actor. You really cannot stop watching him. I think this movie is pretty damn incredible, especially since Ronan Day-Lewis has not directed anything before. I think he does an amazing job of using this cabin space and using these characters to explore some really rich emotional ground between these two brothers and their abusive background. I was riveted by this movie.
Yeah, it was there. It was one of those movies for me, and it was like I was really into it. I was really into it. I was really into it, and then I wasn't.
Hmm.
Um, the performances are A plus. Um, the script was B plus. I know it was written by both Ronan and Daniel Day Lewis. The direction of cinematography were excellent. It just seemed like it was a little meandering for me. And I know that like I'm always kind of that way. I always want things to get on with it a little bit. Um, I wasn't. It was probably the last 20 minutes where I was just like, I know where this is going. I know exactly what's going to happen, and that's not kind of what I want for these characters. And then it went exactly where I thought it was going to go at the end. And I, yeah, I recommend it because because of the performances and all the stuff but if there's just something about it that was just a little off for me, and that's mostly towards the end. And I just thought, there were a lot of, um, I don't, I, I don't like to call it self-indulgent, um, but it kind of came off that way a little bit towards, some of the shots and some of the long meandering shots because there was a nice sunset or there was, you know, if you just cut a couple of the shots a little bit, I think it would have been a little tighter. Daniel Day-Lewis was, I mean, as usual, he was amazing. I really hope he didn't do all the stuff that he talked about in the movie to get into character and stay into character. Because that would be very, very disturbing. I
Yeah.
don't feel like Sean Bean was given as much to do, and Sean Bean is a really, really good actor. I was glad to see that he didn't die because he always dies. Um, but I just feel like it was written by Daniel Day-Lewis and starring Daniel Day-Lewis and directed by his son Ronan Day-Lewis, and it kind of felt like he was bored in retirement, so he was going to come out and he was going to do something like this, that's like acting with a capital A, um,
Mhm.
and that took away from Sean Bean's character, I think, a little bit. Um, Samantha Morton, I can't say enough good things about her. She was like barely recognizable to me for the first part of the movie. She just was so she embodied her character. She was the one who was kind of holding everything together for everybody and trying to hold it together for Ray, even though he hadn't responded to her in 20 some years.
Weirdly enough, it seemed like she had the entire roadmap of all of these relationships in her face,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
in her manner, without saying anything. She doesn't have to say any of it. She just her emotional response to everything seems to tell you the entire story of this more than 20 years or so of these people together.
Yeah.
Their lives interacting, her being with Ray and then marrying his brother and raising their child with Jem, Ray's brother. Like that's a lot of fraught family drama. That's a lot
And
of rich emotional texture.
and I've never, to my knowledge, seen anything that Samuel Bottomley has done, but he was really good
Mm.
at just, being kind of a morose teenager, even though he's probably in his early 20s. But he had that pretty much down. And when he was telling his mom, "Look, he's not my father. Jem is my father." He's, but you could see through his performance later on in the movie when he's just sitting there and she's telling him the story of his birth and early childhood. He's sitting there and you can just see that behind his eyes there's this little like yearning to have Ray as a father figure as well.
Mhm.
um and I think that because he has discovered enough about him, because I don't think he knew half of what he thought he knew about Ray up until he found the box in the attic, and then that really kind of set him off. And while we're on the box in the attic, I gotta wonder, was this whole like casting, was this based on a Polaroid photograph from the 80s? Because nobody photoshops a photo as well as they did in this movie, if that's what they did. It has to have been the three of them hanging out in the 80s because it's just so like so good, so well done. I had actually looked it up when I got out to see if that was something, they said, oh, we should get Sean Bean, and then we can just, do this. I the attention to detail and stuff like that was really well done. And again, the
Mm.
cinematography was beautiful. I just like what struck me was there was a scene that they're walking after they have their real big heart to heart, and they're walking down the beach. They're walking down the beach, and they're walking down the beach. Jem stops to pet a dog and talk to the dog, and then they're walking down the beach, and I'm like, that's it's a beautiful shot. The sunset is beautiful. Yes, I get it. But that was what I was kind of like, come on. It started to get a little self-indulgent at that point for me.
Mm. I do. I like the meta of that shot based on the rest of the story about, we were talking about one guy who's very closed off and doesn't want to interact with people, and another one who is always open to people and has been, and that's part of what makes him a good father and a good man. And I thought that I was just thinking about that during that shot, just pondering that idea of just how subtle that is to include that scene, which almost appears accidental, but then you realize that's actually pretty intentional the way they did that.
What
With Ray
about
walking past and Jem stopping to talk to the dog.
if Ray talked to the dog but ignored the person? I mean, I think that would have, been kind of cool. I don't know. But you know me, I love to rewrite movies.
Do you think the casting of Sean Bean is part of the Sean Bean meta? Because I got this idea in my head that as great an actor as Sean Bean is, putting Sean Bean in a situation where he's in a cabin in the middle of the woods is almost like inviting you to go, oh shit, he's in trouble. he's Sean Bean. He's in a cabin in the woods with a guy who's kind of crazy. But I don't know for you. For me, that added a little layer of suspense. What might happen here?
Now that you say that, okay, I can see that. Oh. No, I did like the movie. I just, again, towards the end, I was like, okay, we've kind of talked everything out. We've kind of gone through everything. Where can we possibly be 20 more minutes left in the movie? You know what I mean?
Yeah, for me, it's come back around to the imagery. I love the imagery that they chose, and the idea of an open door being one of the final things you see in the movie. I thought that, again, I love that kind of imagery. I talked about that during A Big Bold Beautiful Journey. It's like it's one of my favorite pieces of imagery is a doorway that has endless possibilities, and that's what we're closing on here. And I thought that was like fantastic. This movie gets better for me even the further I get away from it. Even with that monologue, even with the shit monologue, I was still the shit monologue really pushed me to an edge to like, it's actually worse for me listening to him describe it as opposed to him actually having done it, if he did it, or if we'd actually seen it happen. I felt like I saw it happen. He's so amazing. I actually felt like I saw it happen.
Do you think he did it?
I think he played it off at the end, so I don't really know. I don't know if he did or not. I don't think so. I think it's such a tall tale, and it's such a perfect revenge story that it's almost like that just seems like something something someone would fantasize almost.
I think that I think it's something he fantasized about, and he kind of like let himself believe that it happened in his head. And then he, as he's telling the tale, he realizes that it's kind of unbelievable. So he's like, do you believe that? So
yeah, it's because you got to figure this guy's been out in this cabin for, over a decade and a half out there by himself in this cabin. You got to figure he's been thinking about this that entire time, and he's got it in his head. Just how I bet he's practiced this monologue in his head a few times. This imagery of what he would do if he saw this man, and Whew, Daniel, I mean, just further proof that the man does not lose a step when it comes to being one of the greatest actors alive.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Yeah, I
still really recommendable.
highly recommend, and I think this one will be among my top 10 movies of the year.
Yeah. Well, I definitely think he's going to get an Oscar nomination for it because you don't talk about shitting in somebody's face if you're not getting an Oscar.
Daniel Day-Lewis does. You know what's scary though is that he's such a method actor. Do you think if he was asked, he would actually shit on somebody's face?
Oh yeah, yeah, 100%. You do it just the way you described it too.
I don't know how I can describe it without actually having done it.
Exactly. He did it to Sean Bean. That's the joke.
Yeah. What an incredible movie. All right. And finally, our classic this week, because it's back in the a 50-year remembrance this weekend. It was back on several screens across the country. It's going to be coming out on screens across the country throughout this month, actually, to celebrate 50 years of Rocky Horror Picture Show. Jeff, when was the last time you saw Rocky Horror?
It's been a little while. I used to watch it all the time. We did a show in college. I got to play Frank-N-Furter. We did a show there. I've seen it in the theater a few times. Uh, Gone to, I think the last time I went to the theater to see it was in New York City. And that was probably 10 or 12 years ago. I have, I've watched it occasionally, uh, on video. I've got the video, of course. So it's been a staple for the last 40 years for me since high school. They used to show it here when I was a little kid, and I had no idea what it was. And then um, they had a Boy George lookalike contest that I wanted to enter when I was in junior high, and they wouldn't let me because it was my parents wouldn't let me because it was at midnight at Duck Creek Mall Cinemas for the Rocky
Oh,
Horror Picture Show. So yeah. What about you? When's the last
I
time
uh,
you watched it?
I watch it every year for Halloween. It's not every year of my life, but like for a time, like in my 20s and 30s, it was every year. I watched this movie because it's just some of the most fun you can have with a movie. It's just such a great. It's funny to me. It's kind of personal to me because it's the kind of movie that people would look at. Like when I was in high school and college, people like go, Sean doesn't watch Rocky Horror, like because I'm so quiet, I'm so reserved. I don't, uh, people had no idea who I really was. So sitting there watching Rocky Horror every year. I've never gotten to dress up. Uh, although I had now prepared with the full Meatloaf body type, so I could play his character in the movie. Um,
Eddie.
I could totally pull off Eddie with my hair and my body type now. I'm totally there. Uh, I I just find this film joyous. I find it's one of those. It's so ahead of its time because it feels like such a product of like a Gen X imagination, even though
Yeah.
it's well before Gen X. But it's got that kind of snark. It's got that kind of irony and kind of a sneering sort of looking down upon on the squares. Like that seems to be the entirety of Gen X attitude back in the day. And I think that's what came to me first was just how this is so cynical and
Yeah.
uh it's it's got that sarcasm to it that movies didn't seem to have at that time, and that seemed to be a product of like our generation.
Dare I say that this might be one of the reasons I am who I am?
Mm.
That whole dark humor, um, the over the top shit, just like everything. I think what you said there is I think it informed Gen X so much. Um, from people our age going to see it in the theater when they were probably too young. Um, when I remember when it was came on like up all night or something like that, and people were just like, "Oh my god, it's on TV! What?" Because it was in the theaters continuously. I mean, I think it's been in the theaters pretty much somewhere in the country in the world for 50 years.
Mhm.
Um, did you ever see it in the theater with a full audience participation?
I did. We used to have a place called the Bruin View here in our area, and they did it for a Halloween one year, and it was fabulous. It
Yeah,
was everything you'd want it to be. They brought all the people brought all the props and the
hmm
costumes, and it was fantastic. I didn't have the courage to dress up at the time because that's just now
yeah,
I am still me. I still have my anxieties and reservations, but I was also being a journalist and observing because I was doing a story on it. But it was fun. It was some of the most fun I've ever had at a movie theater. They also showed it at the Adler Theater, which is just this
uh-huh.
giant space which was again also amazing. So I've seen it a few times. I watched it at Cinemark 2 or 3 years ago for a Halloween viewing, and it just never gets old. That's the thing, is that this movie is fucking timeless. Like, it does
Yeah,
not feel like it's trapped in the 1970s at all.
yeah. The last time I saw it in the theater, I remember I was tasked with toasting an entire loaf of bread for the toast scene for the people that I went with. Yeah, that was because they're like, just, I said, what should I do? And they're like, well, okay, for our group, just go ahead and get a loaf of bread and toast it. And I'm like, well, and then it didn't hit me because I hadn't seen it in the theater in so long. It's like when he says a toast, everybody throws toast at the screen. I'm like, oh yeah. No wonder there's so many rats in New York City. Um, but yeah, that the last time I did it, I was tasked with toasting a loaf of bread. So
Yeah, this is the ultimate of the midnight movie set. Like, as much as there are movies like The Room that people love, and I don't think any movie has really captured people's imagination as part of a midnight movie screening the way that this movie has.
yeah,
Uh, it, it's weirdly inviting in a way that like a slasher horror film could never be. And that's nothing against slasher horror, but not, like, you can attend Rocky Horror without having to have a good stomach on you.
yeah,
I mean, other than there's a couple things maybe that are visually edgy. But other than that, like, it's really an inviting film. It draws audiences to it,
yeah,
and the music is spectacular. I mean, just spectacular. The the time warp is iconic. I mean, it's just they just started off with such a great song, and and having that song placed where it is in the movie so early on is just like, this is the energy that we're going to maintain throughout, and that's like perfect, exceptional. It's also a sexy movie. Like, it's a fully non-binary movie. It's like a fully like,
mhm.
Frank-N-Furter is the original. Like, he takes all comers.
Yep, he's a bi icon. I'll tell you that.
It was the first time I'd ever heard the word transvestite or transsexual in my life, was watching this movie. And I immediately had to figure out what those meant. I think I was also like, and for a lot of people, I think that's the truth, is like the first time you heard transvestite spoken in a way that wasn't derogatory
Yeah,
was that. Like, because usually, like, the word transvestite or tranny was used at the time, when I was growing up, as an insult.
yeah,
And it was usually used in a derogatory fashion. And they're like, nope, not in this movie. This movie, we love transvestites. Ah, and that's that type of outsider acceptance is another aspect of it that makes it so much it's so much ahead of its time. Like,
yeah, yeah.
because this is the one of the original movies that freaked out the squares. You know, this is a movie you could point to that like, you know, conservatives are going to hate this.
Oh, definitely. I mean, and you you get people like who went on to do so many big things. Susan Sarandon, obviously,
Mhm.
Barry Bostwick, Tim Curry, who has just, there's a meme that says, it's where you remember Tim Curry from says a lot about you. And I always think of Rocky Horror first. And, my ex always thought of Clue. And I was like, I got to start dating guys closer to my own age. But, um, I, like little Nell, who played Columbia, she went on to be a big underground 80s celebrity. Um, I remember seeing Basquiat in the theater, and I went, "Oh my god, that's little Nell! That's little Nell!"
Mhm.
Nell Campbell. Um, just so many people that meet Loaf, obviously. Um, who would do anything but for love, but he wouldn't get
But he won't
fast.
do that.
Um, that's why he died. Um, just so much came from this movie for so
Mhm.
many of us in our generation that I think that it's always going to be a classic. Have you seen Shock Treatment, the sequel?
I have. I don't love it nearly as much as this, but
Yeah,
I find it much more, it's much angrier, I feel like, and it
yeah,
doesn't have the inviting quality that Rocky Horror does.
mm,
Um, I think part of that is just that Richard O'Brien is just such a uh, uncompromising artist.
hmm,
I think when he reaches Shock Treatment and he hasn't achieved the kind of, you know, icon status that he had wanted for himself, I think there's a bitterness to him that's kind of fascinating. That I
yeah.
think it really comes through in Shock Treatment.
I haven't seen that movie in probably 30 years, so I have to watch it again. But yeah, I remember the like meanness of it. My friend recently did a Jessica Harper uh, pin for her company from that movie, so I'm like, oh, I gotta watch that again.
Have you done many pictures of Frank-N-Furter or any of the cast?
I actually was commissioned a few years ago for Christmas to do a Rocky Horror poster for somebody, and I have one of them left. I have to make some more before Days of the Dead and stuff, but I have one left that I'm taking to Atamo with me this weekend. Um, and I turned the I it was a collage poster, so I took, I did each one individually as kind of a sticker design, and then I combined them. And I did do a Frank-N-Furter sticker that sold out really, really well. So I could, if I start making some more money on this art thing, then maybe I'll expand a little bit. I got to
Very cool.
get rid of some of these clearance posters first, though. So
All right, looking ahead to next week, we are entering the Tron universe. Not sure
mhm.
exactly why Tron keeps getting made. I was talking about it today with somebody. They were like, why do they keep going back to Tron? What is it about Tron? Because I mean, it hasn't worked the first two times
Yeah, yeah.
in terms of making this like a sustainable series. Like, it's got a cult, I guess, but why go back to it now? Why go back to it with Jared Leto of all people, who just is Jared Leto continues to fail and fail and fail and continues to get chance after chance after chance in a way that just doesn't make any sense to a lot of people. You'd figure after Morbius, people wouldn't be rushing to get into the Jared Leto business.
Yeah, oh god. So, I'm gonna be really honest, I was not looking forward to seeing the Smashing Machine. That is not why I didn't see it. I thought it was an absolutely terrible trailer. I don't I it just the makeup, like you said. I am though my least anticipated movie of the year is Tron Ares. Um, Mostly because I have not seen I think I saw the first one when I was a kid. I think, like it was on HBO or something. I think I probably saw it there. I did not see the second one, Legacy,
Mhm.
and I'm just so sick of Jared Leto. I think he's so pretentious. Um, that I'm super not looking forward to this one, but I'm gonna see it obviously after I see the first two. Um, it's just like I don't get it. I don't get the appeal. I mean, the first one, yeah, when that was the height of the video game craze, and it takes place inside a video game. Yeah, that's. But this gives me Terminator Genesis vibes. Watching the
The fu-
trailer for this.
the funny thing is like hearing Jeff Bridges talk about this movie and yeah, I didn't really think they were going to have me back for this one. I don't know. I'm actually not sure why they had me
Oh, great. Jesus, keep killing me with it.
Also coming out is Jennifer Lopez's Oscar play, Kiss of the Spider Woman. Um,
Sorry, did you hear her say last week they were talking about it and she said, I really think I have a voice for Broadway, or I have a Broadway voice. And I was like Broadway in New York City near the Bowery, maybe. But girl, I've heard you sing a cappella. It's like me singing a cappella. So I don't know. We'll see.
yeah, it seems like this is just coming out of nowhere, and it feels almost like they're just. I mean, every movie nowadays just doesn't get promoted, but
Yeah.
this one also is just another one where I mean, it's such a big idea. It's such a, not a movie that anyone expected to see get remade. And it just leaves you wondering again, why don't you promote the movies that you're putting out? Like,
Yeah.
we're just we're just gonna throw it in theaters in October, whatever. Like it's just the afterthoughtness of this film release is fascinating. Meanwhile, Roofman, they've been promoting the hell out of this movie with
God, I've
Channing
seen that
Tatum.
trailer every single movie I've seen in the last 3 months.
This trailer's been everywhere, and it's based off of a true story that's got a really, a really terrific true crime story. I'm very excited. Channing Tatum's recent work has been just really, really good. He's on a great streak
Yeah.
of delivering really unique and interesting performances. And I just love that scene in the trailer where he's robbing McDonald's and he gives the kid his coat because he doesn't want the kid to be cold when he's locking him in the freezer. I think he's such a sweetheart.
Yeah. Yeah. So also next week, um, we've got a few the not this for this coming weekend, but next week we've got a few nights at Cinemark that we're going to be having to do because they're doing some horror movies from the past. Next Monday, the 13th, is Friday the 13th Part 2, which is one of the only ones I've never seen on the big screen. So we're definitely going to that. Then on Wednesday, which my trivia team is going to have to deal with the fact that I won't be there because they are showing Nightmare on Elm Street 2 in the theater,
Wow.
which was the first one that I ever saw in the theater. So if you want to go to that, you're more than welcome to go with me. I think what else is coming up that Thursday is Trick or Treat, which actually saw the Chicago premiere of that movie with the director. So yeah, there's a few different. Halloween 2 is that Friday. So never seen that on the big screen. I think we're if you want to join me, anybody, and you're in the Quad City area, I'm gonna have to bring a bucket because I might have to pee my pants a little bit. Seeing some of these on the big screen for the first time.
Wow.
So, and not rooftop showings. I get to actually sit inside.
I love the rooftop.
I know, but it's not what I want to see. It's not how I want to see these movies that I've never seen before. So,
all right. Well, Jeff, next week.
Yeah, sounds good.
Have a good one.
See you later. You too.